Okay, there was a whole second. Um, Welcome. I think that I'm live now. If I'm not live, then I guess I'm just talking to myself. Always great, always good. And yeah, welcome. This is very exciting because today, even though I feel like absolute trash today and I had to take allergy medicine earlier and I may fall asleep on you guys, I'm also streaming live to Facebook right now. Simultaneously. Woo! Technology, fancy things. Woo! Cool. And so here I am. If you are if you have no idea who I am or you're watching this from the future, my name is Kara Lexi. I am a writer and I live in the Caribbean in Trinidad and Tobago. And this channel, Pantsing Like a Pro, is all about accountability. Accountability for me. Hi, Candy. Uh, it is my journey to write and to finish a manuscript, mostly by pantsing. But as I have learned, for me, it is not a 100% pantsers process. And I will talk about that a little bit today. But now you know who I am and you know why I'm here. And now I'm going to talk about how to start writing. Now, also happy birthday. And that was the thing that I did the last two times I did the stream for no apparent reason. And I kind of like it. So I'm just gonna say that every single time. If you're watching this and it's your birthday, happy birthday. The world is happy to see you. So, how to start writing? That's such a question. My hi Julie, welcome, present and accounted for. I will put you on, roll call, the roll thing, which is actually just the list of things I was supposed to talk about today. I'm talking a lot about I don't care if you're on Facebook or YouTube. I just thought it would be cool to be able to stream to both because some of my cousins aren't YouTubers. Oh, well, they're not, they don't watch you booktube. Anyway, I don't know. They are Facebook people. And they were like, I want to watch you, but I don't watch YouTube. I'll watch a Facebook Live. And I was like, okay, I'll stream on Facebook. So yeah, you could watch wherever you want. Um, I'm really glad Julie's here though. Nikki, welcome. You guys are going to do this like it's a class every time, aren't you? That's great. That's great. Okay. So I did my spiel, who I am, what I'm doing here. Can we talk about monetization again? Why? Hi, David. David, not the David that has been here prior, but a brand new David. Usually I see his gal and I do see hina boy. So anyway, hi David, welcome. For your sake, I'll do my spiel one more time. So my name is Kara Ryan. Well, but I write as Kara Lexi, so my name is Kara Lexi. Also, my name is Kara Lexi Rubner. Anyway, the point is, here I am, and the point of this channel is to help me stay accountable and give you, my friends, updates on where I'm going with my manuscript, which I'm attempting to pants. So this is my journey to finish the manuscript. Thank you, Julie. You tell them. You tell them. Right. Anyway, also I absolutely learned how to do this. Watch. Ooh, shade. Look, look, look. Julie's hi, I'm present. I can just click these things now. Look, look. David's there. Hi, David. Nikki is present. Hi, Nikki. Anyway, okay, I'm going to stop that now and get to the point because me rambling and behaving like a child is the reason that these things take an hour instead of like 20 to 30 minutes. So my friend Daniel, aka DJ, he asked me this question a few days ago. I think it was maybe not even a few days ago, maybe yesterday or Friday, just not long ago. And he was like, weird question. How do you start writing? And I was like, I'm not going to answer that because I'm going to think about it for YouTube. And I thought about it. And what's really interesting is that I ended up having a conversation about this or something so similar something very similar with Julie, who is present in the chat and can chime in on the things that I'm about to say. Uh, but how to start writing is first, I think you just need to have an idea. You need to have an idea of what you want to write. And I think, hi, mom. There's mom. Hi, mom. Right. And I think that that idea can be anything. The idea for some folks, the idea is along the lines of what if, you know? So the story they want to write kind of starts with a thought exercise. What if X happens? What if Y happens? For me, that what if question particularly ends up snowballing into a world building thing. And not for everybody, but for me, that's what it does. What if? Sometimes that idea is just, I'd really like to see this particular thing, like this one cool scene you have in your brain that you want to write about, and maybe you just write the scene and you realize, well, you want to write how that scene happens and what happens after that scene, and then you end up writing a story. And there are all sorts of other ways that you could ideate and end up doing this, right? So I think that's just where the how to write starts. You have to have an idea. Now, my friend DJ, the idea that he had particularly was something fan based. I'm not sure if it is fan fiction or counts as fan fiction. I guess it does, but he plays a game, and the game is still missing a lot of lore, and he would like to fill in that lore. But of course, to fill it in, he has to write stuff. Now, personally, there are different ways to do that. You could write stories about characters and events, like you could write it like a story. And when I think of a story, I think about something that has a deeper point of view. When I say a deeper POV, I mean like I'm viewing the events that happened through the lens of a specific person or character, or maybe even object that is part of this event. And there's also a kind of what I call the historian method, which this may be a completely inaccurate way to describe it, but the historian method to me is very detached. It's you're not necessarily looking at something through a specific lens or personal or point of view. You're writing these events in an unbiased way, and you're documenting it. It's just like a documentation. I write lore that way. So when I'm doing world building exercises and stuff, sometimes that's what I do. I have like a whole bunch of what should be short story length like stuff on the Sukuya of my mythology, because the Sukuya of my mythology is different to the Sukuya that we know in our Trinidadian folklore. And I also have one for the succubus and like the life cycles of the succubus. And it's all written pretty clinically, just like, when the succubus reaches maturity, blah blah blah. Like it's not and you could do it that way. And I think that it depends on what you're writing and what you're inspired to write and what is pushing you to get something on the page. So I haven't had a chance to talk to DJ in a lot of detail about what he really wants, if what he's trying to do is write a specific story, or if what he's trying to do is just write something around the lore of the world. But those are my ideas of how to apply your idea. You can see that I'm really pantsing this video, right? Because that's the point of this channel. But anyway, once you've got that idea and you know what you want to write, the first step is to write. And I know that sounds like a non-answer, but you really just need to put a word on the page. You just need to put a single word on the page. Because once you've got that word on the page, you're going to ask yourself, what comes after this word? And that word could be it could be Sukuya, it could be dark, it could be light, it could be notepad, it could be monitor. Like you just put a word on the page that is relevant to your idea and what you want to say, And eventually you'll end up with a sentence. And that's all it really takes. I think the challenge that a lot of people had, or at the very least, it's the challenge that I had when I first started writing, and I knew that someday somebody would read what I was writing. And I know I've talked about this before on this channel, but the thing that happens is that I feel like every word that comes out has to be perfect. And I feel like every sentence that I write has to be the sentence, has to be the final sentence, has to be the final version. That's not true. So when you write it the first time, keep it in your mind that nobody else has to read this. And if somebody else is going to read it, you get to make that decision. You get to decide if someone else reads it. And once you've decided that nobody's reading what you're about to write, it's way easier to write. At least for me. I don't know about DJ, I don't know about Olia. But for me, once I've decided nobody reading this, I could write it and I could just get it on the page. Of course, I am very nervous if I decide after the fact that somebody's going to read it. But when do you get to read about the succubus life cycles? So Candy asks, when do we get to read about the succubus? When I go back to that story, a brief tangent, probably that won't be so brief. I wrote a story that I subsequently named Eastern Jam, and I see. Oh gosh. I don't know if this is just super delayed or what. Anjali says, I see a series of the biological and anthropological aspects of the human seeming species of the Caribbean. Yeah, I could probably write that. And for that's way easier for me to write too, because that stuff is all world building stuff. It's so much easier for me to write that because I don't have to invest in like a character. I can just be like, this is the cool thing that happens. Like that's what it looks like when I do that. I have like there's nothing holding me back because nobody needs to sit this and be like, oh, I like this character. This character is convincing, or this plot arc is great. No, they just have to be like, this is a cool idea, and I know it's a cool idea because there's very few things in world building that are absolute trash. So yes, hold on, you guys are taking me all the way off track. Okay, so I had a small tangent for Candy. I wrote this short story called Eastern Jam because that was the song that I was listening to on repeat when I wrote it. And it's basically just about a succubus picking up a guy at a bar and then like having her way with him when they leave the bar. That's it. I did not write any sex scenes that I would show you yet. I probably will eventually. So DJ, hey, he made it! He asks, how is the transition from academic scientific writing to more character-driven writing? Hard, bro. It is hard. And I say that from experience because I did the same thing and it effing sucked. It sucked, but also it doesn't have to be that bad, I guess, because they're two different mindsets. I think if you're writing law, Lore, and you're doing it from the historian type perspective that I was talking about earlier, it's much easier because you can be more clinical about it. But if you want to write something character driven and plot driven with like lush descriptions and using body language and like other fancy things that academic and technical writing doesn't have, unless you're studying body language, I guess, it could be really different. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be that hard. And I realized that I just had to, for me, it's a switch that I flip in my brain, right? Because when I'm doing reports and technical and academic writing, that is a different me. And then when I'm doing creative writing, I just have to switch gears into creative care as opposed to technical report care. I don't know if it's going to work like that for everybody, or if it does work like that for everybody, or if it's going to work like that for you. But if you read a lot of books and they are not technical writing or academic writing or reports, then it's way easier because you can, for lack of a better word, you can mimic the fluid fiction writing of the authors that you read. And when I say mimic them, I mean you'll mimic their style until you find your own. You'll mimic their tone and their voice until you find your own. And I don't know if that's how it works with everybody, but I know that's how it works for me, because for a very long time I wrote in the third person until I started reading more and more books that were written in the first person. And then when I sat down to put myself into my writing and my character's skin, I found that writing it in first person was super easy. And there was even a transitionary period where I was writing both in first and in third person. And I found that they had their pros and cons. Today, I can still write in third person as well as first, but because most of what I read is nowadays in first person, that is where I'm most comfortable because I understand how to tell stories that way because that's what I've been reading. Um, yes, it is. So Julie says it's Care R versus Care A. Care report writer versus Care a creative. And I know that's supposed to be my last names, but still, it works out the same way. And that's kind of how it works for me. TJ says, LOL, just like teaching. I just loved my favorite teachers until I got comfortable with my own. Yes, that is exactly right. And now that you've said that, I realize that I did a very similar thing with my own teaching, is that I just pulled all of the things that I liked out of the teachers and the teaching experiences that I had had, and I applied that to the way I did it. And I also just did the things that I was comfortable with and the things that I knew I would enjoy being, like the ways that I knew I would enjoy being taught. And so when you're writing, you just do the things that you know you would enjoy reading. And it's one of the reasons that I think my writing, you can write what you know. Even if you don't know that that's what you're doing, you're going to write what you know. And if you know fantasy, that's what you're going to be more comfortable writing. If you know fiction and science fiction, that's it. If you know romance, that's what you're going to be more comfortable writing. And I think that that's why I don't write very much outside of science fiction fantasy, because I don't read it. Anyway, um, the part where after you've done the idea making and you want to start putting words on a page, that is where I think it does become difficult, because sometimes just putting that first word on the page, whether it's by hand or on your computer, on your phone, is tough. But like I said, if you stick it in your brain that nobody's going to read this until or unless I want them to, you kind of give yourself permission to write trash. You need that permission, because inevitably the first thing you write is not going to be something that you love, right? Maybe the first time you write it, you will love it, but you're going to come back to that later and be like, ugh, did I write this sentence? Pish posh, some crap. And you just need to allow yourself to be bad at it for a while. I'm still not good at allowing myself to be bad at that. And that's because I've read things that I've written that are good. And I'm like, oh, I wrote this thing that was good. How could I write this piece of crap? It's a struggle, right? I think it's like an anxiety perfectionist thing, but whatever. You really just need to give yourself permission to do that. And that's, for me, that's step one. And then the next thing you do is trick your brain. Trick your brain. Use every brain hack that you could find to encourage yourself to get words on the page. So Anjali says, I write the way I imagine characters speaking, which is why my stuff tends to be first person perspective. Literally, I write it in the way it's happening in my mind. Also, why I'm a pantser. And it ends. Yes. Now, I will say that I think it's likely that the reason you imagine the character speaking is because you read novels written in first person. And therefore, when you think of your own story, you think of it from the perspective of a character talking to you because that's what first person is like. If you read heavily third person writing, it's not going to be that way. And I can tell you for sure that even though your writing right now, Angeli, is first person, I remember what you wrote before, and the majority of that was third person when the trend in books was third person. And that's what most people, including you and I, were reading. So brain hacks. Um, I I read somewhere. It was in some book. I don't remember the name of the book, and I'm very sorry. I'll try to find it. But there was some book I was reading when I was really down in the dumps about my writing and if I would ever write and if I could write and if I don't know, my words were worth anybody's time. And it was a book about motivating yourself as a writer or something like that. Maybe it was about plotting. I don't know. But that was the phase I was going through. But one of the brain hacks was to write on a small screen. Write on a small screen. Write on something that is tiny because you can fill a small space. You can fill a space this big with words much more easily and much more quickly than you would fill a space this big, right? The alternative, of course, if you can't change the size of the page you're writing on, change the size of your font or change the size of your handwriting. That that worked wonders for me. I use the full screen mode on Scrivener, which is where I do my typing. I use the full screen mode, and you can adjust the size of your writing window on full screen mode. So my writing window is like this wide. It's not even the full length of my screen. It's like this tall, maybe, and this narrow. So I just have this like narrow strip of empty space that I have to fill. It's so much easier to try to do that than trying to fill this whole page. So that was like one of the brain hacks, I guess, that I learned about that really worked well for me. I know I've spoken about this before, but the star sticker method for motivating myself to write more and more words every day, which is where you assign yourself a certain number of words that you write, and every time you write that number of words in a day, you get a star. I started at 500, so for me, I ended up writing a minimum of 500 words a day since I started this project, right? Basically. For some people, you might not feel like you can write 500 words a day. So give yourself a stuff every 50 words, give yourself a stuff every 100 words, and do it that way until you realize that it gets easier. And it does get easier. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Case in point, again, I know this is something I talked about before, but I started doing sprints. Sprinting is basically where you use the Pomodoro technique to do your writing. So you write for that short period of time. For me, it's 20 minutes. I think the actual Pomodoro time as default is 25 minutes, but I'll write for 20 minutes and then I'll take a break. And I stop wherever I am when my timer goes off for the end of that 20 minutes, especially if it's in the middle of an idea. Because if you stop writing in the middle of an idea, when you come back from that 3 or 5 minute break and you sit down, you know exactly what's going to happen next and you keep writing. And that snowballs, right? It becomes more and more words. So that was the second brain hack that I started using, was doing those sprints. And when I first started doing sprints, I would barely get 100 words in 20 minutes. Barely. Eventually, my average came up to 133 words in 20 minutes. And now, after 2 weeks, yeah, I started this. It's the end of my second week doing this. Yeah, I've been doing this for 2 weeks, and my average is 300 or so words now per 20 minutes. And there are people who could throw 700 words on the page in 20 minutes, and I think I will get there eventually, but today is not that day. And that's okay. It does mean, though, that if I spend an hour with breaks, I can probably get almost 1,000 words, maybe 600 words if I take my long break in between, which I often do. So in 2 hours a day, I could probably hit about 1500 words. And yay, right? That's pretty fantastic. Excuse me. Man, you guys are so much less talkative than usual. It's kind of freaking me out because all I'm doing is listening to myself. It's kind of weird. Um, hmm. What else? I don't know what this slow clap. I don't know what this slow clap is for, and I know that there's a delay because some of these comments are things that I spoke about like 3 minutes, 4 minutes ago. So, okay. Um, small spaces, star sticker brain hack, and is there anything else? Not that I could think of immediately. I think those are the two main things if you are just starting that make sense. Give yourself permission to write trash. Tell yourself that nobody else is going to see it. Remember, yeah, boy, everything really. Julie says everything is moving like jello. Yeah, boy. I agree. Oh, okay. Thank you, Candy. Appreciate it. Um, yeah, so now that it's 300 words, that's pretty good. But I think that those are the major things. If you want to start writing, those are some things that you can do for yourself. Have an idea, figure out if you are writing this idea clinically or in somebody's skin, because I think that's going to make a big difference. Because I don't know if DJ was here when I said this, but when I write law, I write it like I'm a historian, like or like way on the outside looking in. I write it very clinically from a third person kind of omniscient point of view. And if I'm writing a story where there are character arcs and characters and all of that stuff, I I would write it in first person or deep third person point of view, where I'm like in a character's skin. Uh, yeah, reward yourself when you write. In my case, I reward myself with star stickers. When I hit 10,000 words, Candace rewarded me with cupcakes. They were delicious. When I hit 25,000 words, Candace will probably reward me with cupcakes again. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, and I think now, okay, unless there are more questions, DJ, if you're still here, specifically more questions from you, then I'm going to whoop, 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 whoop into the updates part of this live. And while I wait to see if DJ has any other questions, Julie says that she can't stop staring at my Wall-E jersey. So yes, this is a Wall-E t-shirt. Chris, my friend Chris, who I once dated many, many years ago, is the person I got this shirt from. And by got this shirt from, I stole it from him while we were dating. And it is still one of my favorite pieces of clothing. And Chris, if you ever watch this, you should know. It is still one of my favorite pieces of clothing. Okay, so Julie says that she will make more soap for my next goals. Yay! And DJ says move on to updates. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move on to updates. So, as you may know from last week, I doubled my goal. So instead of trying to hit 500 words a day, I'm trying to hit at least 1,000 words a day, preferably more like 1,200 or more. And that's been a little wonky. I'm at 15,000 words now, which is pretty cool because Sunday last week I was at 10, and now a week later I'm at 5,000. So that's roughly 5,000 words a week that I've written because this project has been ongoing for only 3 weeks. And it's not bad. I mean, if I want to finish by the end of November, which is my new deadline, I'm going to need to increase that by about 50%. I think I can, and I'm going to go for it. So I'm at 50,000 words now. My daily word count has been a little wonky. I don't know if that's because I push myself too fast, or if it's just because, hi Tashari, welcome. Tashari's here. She says late, but I'm here. Sorry, I'm just doing the comment thing now because I learned how to do it and it's so cool. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know if it's just because the week has been really busy and difficult for me because I felt like trash all week. I'm impressed with myself that I'm still awake right now because I had to take allergy medicine earlier and lay down for a nap. I didn't eat as much uh, as I intended to after my nap because I started getting itis, and between that and the allergy meds, I was like, maybe I'll finish eating after the stream. um, Candy says relationship costs include loss of articles of clothing. It's true. It's true. It's just the price he paid for the wonderful me in his life. Anyway, so I'm at 15K words. I've doubled the amount I can write in a sprint. I am hoping to keep that going. But some things that I've learned about myself. Specifically, I've learned that I write better in the dark. Now, I actually think that science says this about most people, that they are more creative in dim lighting. But every single day that I've had the opportunity to write during the day, like at sunup, or when the sun was up rather, as opposed to at the moment of sunup, I just haven't been able to do it. I've done other things. I've like worked on my plot board to see if I have the beats right. I've worked on, like pulling out things for Teaser Tuesdays. I've done things like watch professional development based videos, whether it's YouTube or some other like something on Teachable or whatever it is. I've done stuff like I've done stuff related to my writing, but I haven't actually done the writing until after sundown. So I work better at night, or at least when it's dark. Uh, yikes. I don't know if that's just the science of my brain, or if it's because I'm so used to daytime being work time, and I don't feel like writing is work, at least not yet. At least not that kind of work. So there's that. Um, One day this week I actually wrote 2,000 words in a single day. That was super cool. Um, what else? What else? So I made a huge commitment this week as well because there are a lot of pitch contests and mentorship opportunities for budding authors. And if you are unagented and if you have a manuscript, right? If you're unagented and you have a manuscript and that is a as polished as you can personally make it manuscript, you can submit your manuscript to these contests. So pitch contest is on Twitter. They will have a specific hashtag. So there's PitMad, there's DVPit, there's PitDoc, um, there's Latinx pitch, there's Kiss pitch. There's a whole bunch. But if your book or otherwise you as an author, so for example, DVPit is specifically for authors who are marginalized in mainstream publication. So, you know, even if your book's content isn't an own voice's work, or even if it's not, the characters aren't characters that are not usually found in mainstream, but you as a writer, you are an author who is not normally given opportunities in mainstream writing, mainstream publishing, then DV Pit is something that you can do. Pit Mad is for anybody. Dark Pit is specifically if your manuscript is dark, right? I think it includes horror, stuff like that. So these are Twitter pitch contests, and you there's a day. The next Pitman is December 3rd. I may or may not participate depending on how I feel about my manuscript by the time it's complete at the end of November. But I wasn't originally pushing to participate in anything at the end of this year, but I would like to participate in these events that are happening in the beginning of next year. And that is supposed to include DVPit. It's supposed to include something called Author Mentor Match, which is not a Twitter contest, but it is an opportunity for you to be mentored by a published author in your genre. And there's also Pitch Wars. Pitch Wars is actually opening today. Yeah, submissions for Pitch Wars open today. And Pitch Wars, basically, you send a query, including your first 10 pages, you send a query package, you submit it to 4 potential mentors who are working with Pitch Wars. Hi! We've got a Facebook person. Look! Okay, what was I saying? Pitch Wars. So you submit to 4 different people who are on the Pitch Wars mentors list, and you may or may not got chosen by one of them, and they will mentor you, right? Oh gosh, this is so important. Julie says, reminder to everyone present, drink water. I'm just going to let that sit there for a second. Go drink some water. Okay. Right. Anyway, that's happening now. I don't have a manuscript for Pitch Wars right now. But maybe next year. There's also something called Pass or Pages that I think I might try, and a bunch of other stuff. But I can't enter any of them, I think, between now and the end of the year. So I'm aiming to enter those things in the first quarter of next year, which is 2021. So because of all of that, and because I want to have so where DJ is, it is 9:35 p.m. Oops. It is 9:35 p.m. and he says he doesn't have water, he has a beer. That's okay. This is Mushroom, everybody. Mushroom, don't go. Mushroom, wait. Come say hello to the people. They are your fans. They love you. This is Mushroom, everybody. Mushy says hi. Okay, Mushy wants to go. Bye, Mush. She's a very sleepy person. Up, up, up. And she's about to take that nap on my keyboard. Also, something I learned about myself is that my prime writing time is also when all of the cats want to sleep on my keyboard. Great. It's great. Anywho, I was rambling about pitch wars and like pitch contests and mentorship opportunities. What was all that for? That was because I wanted to tell you guys I have made a commitment to complete this manuscript by November 30th, which is the last day of NaNoWriMo. And I'm so committed to that I hired an editor to do a manuscript assessment for me. So on December 1st, I'm going to send this absolute trash draft that I have for a manuscript assessment. And I know that it sounds counterintuitive because what you're supposed to do is sit down and self-edit and try to make that manuscript the best possible manuscript you can without anybody's help before you go off asking an editor, because probably they'll be able to tell you the same stuff that you can probably figure out on your own. And you know what? I'm not good at it. I'm just not good at it because I'm always too close. And my memory is usually pretty good, especially if it's something that I came up with. So it's really difficult for me to be like, oh, what I'm missing is X or what I'm missing is Y. Or to go back and read it from the beginning and be, oh, Mushroom, no, don't bite it. Sorry, she's biting cords. Yeah, so that's really difficult. That's hard for me to do. And I just thought that the best thing would be to get a professional to do it for me. Now, I am breaking my own rules a little bit. So even though I had intended for this to be a 0 or a dirty draft that I'm not supposed to share with anybody, I'm on chapter 7 now, 7 or 8 now, and I have saved and sent out the first 6 chapters to other members of my writing group, some of who are in this chat. So you guys, you folks, all ya know. Yeah, 6 chapters straight. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to break it up into bits, and I'll probably send them like 6 chapters and then, you know, the next 2 and then the next 2 and so on. I'm doing about 2 chapters a week, roughly, because the longest a chapter should be is 3,750 to 4,000 words is a long chapter. And I'm trying to keep my chapters short. So I'm trying to keep them something like 2,000 to 2,500 words, and then a couple chapters are closer to 3,000 words. Good. So this is Miguel Owen, except it's not. It's his wife, and his wife is in my writers group. So his wife is one of the people that I'm talking about when I'm like somebody is supposed to be reading my pages. That's who. Well, that's one of the who's. But yes, when I have more than six complete chapters, I will start sending it to the rest of you to read for me and give me feedback and information. For example, right now I think my opening 10 pages or my opening chapter is a little too slow, and I need to make it a little faster somehow, or I need to add some more action to it somehow. But I'm gonna let you all tell me that first before I go messing around with anything. Also, I do want to finish it before I come back and do any major changes because I did end up doing a major retcon like last week, which didn't work out so bad because I retconned 11. I retconned 10,000 pages, and then by like the time I was done, I was past 10,000 words. But still, that's where I'm at. And that's it. I'm gonna finish this by the end of November. If for some reason it's not finished, too blasted bad. I will just let the editor know, hey, look, I couldn't finish it, but I'd really still like you to read the rest of it and tell me what's missing and where my holes are. And that way, maybe when I get to my ending may be even stronger because I would be able to, build it up more carefully and, with more strength. So that's it. That's my plan. And then Author Mentor Match opens in January 2021 for mentees to submit, and I plan to submit in January 2021 to that. DV Pit is supposed to be early next year. I plan to do DV Pit. Pit Mad is every quarter, so I'm not doing December 3rd, or I most likely won't do December 3rd, but I am going to do the following quarter in 2021, and so on. And that's my plan. And that's it for my updates. 15K words. I hit 2,000 words in a day this week. I've been kind of wonky on my word count, sometimes crossing 1,000, sometimes not. But for the most part, I think I'm doing pretty okay and I'm on track. Question time. Ask me a thing. And while I wait for questions, I'm going to drink my passion fruit juice. Are you ready to have any questions, boy? That's unique. Because most of the time, you're talking more than me. Tishari wants me to spill secrets, but I don't know what secrets she's referring to. Candace says, good job! It's good job! I don't know if that's a good job for me on the stream or for everything, or. Passion fruit juice. Yes, Lee. Is good stuff. Miguel Owen's wife asks, how has this process been for you with regards to your anxiety around productivity? That's such a deep question, horse. Oh, God. Now I have anxiety from that question. Just kidding. I had anxiety before that. Gosh. I've become really zen about whether or not I write in a day. I'm not anxious about writing as much now. And when you I can only answer this question, I think, about my anxiety around productivity with regards to my writing, because nothing else in my life has changed. All of the other stuff that I've been doing, I've always been doing. There are some difficulties that I think are going to be approaching. For example, and I mean, it's already started. It's part of why I think that this week was difficult for me to hit that 1,000 words every day, because I've actually just been really busy with work. At work right now, we're entering what we call the urgent period. I work with application packages, kind of like editors work with query packages sometimes. And excuse me, and they a lot of early action, early decision application packages are due in November, which means that the month of October is going to be hellish. It's going to be bad. It's going to be hard. And of course, once those November deadlines are gone, the next round of deadlines are the end of December or the first, second, and third of January for most. That's also going to be really difficult because it means that everybody, all my students who are so busy with Christmas and those things, they're also going to be simultaneously hounding me down for like the same short blocks of time. Like it's going to be crazy. So I'm anxious around. This does not answer your question, but is the answer that I have, and I'm anxious around being able to maintain my 1 to 2 hours a week, a day, sorry, to write and to achieve that 1,000 words or more. Uh, but the process has helped ease that anxiety, I think, because I've set clear goals for myself. I have clear deadlines for myself. I am very goal driven, and the more information that I have, the less anxious that I feel. And because I've done the work of giving myself all of the information that I need to not feel anxious about my writing, that is the one thing I'm not anxious about. So I guess that kind of answers your question. Candy asks, how are K and S? I think you mean H and S. They are nothing right now because I've been focused. Every single piece of writing that I've done has been specifically on Projectopia and has been specifically with Junie and company. And yes, so nothing yet. But uh, I'll get back to them. I'll get back to them eventually. They may not be my next project because I know right now that Project Obia is book one of a duology and I want to write book two, which right now the working title for is Project Durga. But yeah, I'll get back to them one day. For those of you who do not know who or what H&S is, it stands for Helen and Safala. Helen and Safala are a queer couple, interracial couple in an urban fantasy that I started writing as a prompt. And their story is being told through me writing prompts. And I haven't done this in a while because I've been so focused on the novel for Project Obia and work. But every Friday, my writing group used to do, and I think we will continue to do it now that it's back in my mind. But we would do a writing prompt every Friday at lunch. We would all write for 20 minutes and share what we've written. And that's where Helen and Safala were born. And I decided to give myself the added challenge of writing about those two characters every single time I did a prompt. And that's how their story happened. And if you're interested in that story, you can read it on my blog. Tashari asks, with regards to your writing, what keeps you motivated? Spite. 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 Caffeine. Spite. I'm kidding. It's not all spite. It's some spite though. Uh, I think that what is keeping me motivated is a combination of things. Let me explain the spite first, since that's what I said first. Many people have told me that I am a great writer or that I am a talented writer. And in that same breath, for some of them, not all of them, but some of them, in that same breath, they will say something along the lines of, it's a pity that that writing is never going to go anywhere. And I'm like, it isn't? And the thing is, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. When you say my writing is never going to go anywhere, do you mean that I am not going to take it anywhere? Or do you mean that nobody else is going to pay it enough attention for it to go somewhere? I don't know. Some of the things that they've said is because I'm Caribbean and that's where I live. Nobody's going to pay attention to any of the work that I write. And because what I write is commercial and genre fiction as opposed to literary, which is what the Caribbean is more known for, most Caribbean authors are known for. And I do say most because it's not all. That's kind of what they say. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm a brown person. I'm, like they say all of these things, and I'm just like, f you, right? How could you tell me that I am so talented and my work is so good, but you're the wrong demographic? I mean, it's not, that's actually a bad question. They could tell it to me because it's probably proven by the numbers. But I don't think that that has to be true. So, yeah, spite is definitely a big part of what motivates me because even if for all of the other reasons I don't get to publish this book or any of my work traditionally, which for the record, I've already published traditionally twice. Short stories, not novels, but still better than nothing. Um, also, it was 10 years ago, but better than nothing because I haven't actually tried since doing this, since publishing those two things 10 years ago, right? But I think that that goes to show that if I try, it, it might freaking work. Nabil says, as a porn artist from the Caribbean, I feel that. Yeah, it's true, right? People tell us this all the time. But every day that passes, more and more Caribbean diaspora are living all over the world, and people are looking for something new and fresh. So why not, right? Eventually, that's what they're going to want to see. And I think that even if I don't become a traditionally published author, whether it's this book or another book or something else, I do think that I'm going to save up and traditionally publish. I'm going to save up. I'm going to traditionally publish. Sorry, self publish, not traditionally. I'm going to save my money, use an editor to do like developmental and other editing for me, get a copywriter, not copywriter, copy reader, proofreader. Yeah, copy reading, copy. Yeah, that. Anyway, my brain is obviously not braining. I'm going to blame it on the allergy meds. But I'm going to do all that, hire myself some professional book designers to do my book covers and everything, and probably hire a publicist. If that's what it comes down to, it's going to be expensive as hell. But you know what? I'm prepared to do it if that's what it takes for people to read my work. And that's where the spite comes from. Because if it weren't for that spite, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, well, if I'm not going to traditionally publish, I guess I'm just not going to do it. That's probably what would happen. But nope, spite. I'm gonna keep going. Oh, the other things that motivate me would be like I have a story to tell and I want to tell it, and I have rich characters and worlds that I want other people to learn about and know about because I hope that it inspires them to write too, because that's how I ended up writing. Yeah. And I want that. I want that. I'm very motivated for that. But on my worst days, spite keeps me going. Julie asks, very random, what word have you used the most so far in this story? I do not know. Probably one of the like regular words as the and it. Probably that. I think a phrase that I've used a lot is after all. Um, I'm gonna have to like go through and edit that, but I've noticed that I've used it a few times. I just can't tell if I've just noticed for so or if it's really been overused. Tashari asked, what is your favorite chapter you've written so far? Ironically, it's the least actiony chapter. It's chapter 3. It's 3,208 words. Yes, I know how many words it is. And it's the longest chapter that I have so far. And it is a scene where my main character has a fight with her parents. And also where she signs the contract that basically I consider that chapter to contain my inciting incident. My inciting incident is kind of split over two chapters. If I guess, yeah, and that's what it is. Talk about food and the word you've built. What they does eat? I hungry. They does eat what we does eat to us. They eat like macaroni pie and kalaloo and red bean and like I don't know pilau and curry like that. They does eat food. I don't understand. They does eat food. Um, what else? What are you using to generate these lower thirds? I'm using StreamYard. I That's StreamYard is what is allowing me to broadcast simultaneously on YouTube and on Facebook. And when I click the comments in the comment section, it will pop up on the screen. And it's so cool. I'm so excited. It is. You can also stream to Twitch, but I don't have a. I don't. I mean, it's weird to say I don't have a following on Twitch because I don't have a following anywhere. But I mean, I guess I have like 300 followers or 400 followers on Facebook, and I've got like 22 subscribers, almost all of whom are here on YouTube. And so I'm just streaming here and on Facebook, on YouTube and on Facebook. Um, I need to look into this. That's dope. It is. I did have to pay to be able to stream to two places at once. Um, and it also removed the logo, the StreamYard logo, which was like the giant duck in the corner. But yeah, I thought it was worth it if I was going to continue doing this, like for the rest of the year and the whole of next year, because the likelihood is that I'm going to get to the end of this book. I'm going to send it to that editor to do my manuscript assessment slash reader's report or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be doing edits on that. I'm going to be trying to come up with a pitch for PitMad. I'm going to be, I'm going to be doing all of those things. And I'm going to be documenting that whole process this way. So I thought it would be a good investment in myself and in holding myself accountable. But yes, you should look into it. It's awesome. The only thing it can't do is simultaneously stream to Instagram, but that's because Instagram doesn't allow you to stream from anything other than Instagram. Julie asks, am I writing my cats into any of my books? The answer is yes. Not in this book, but in Rakshasa Rising, Amaretto and DC are characters in that book. By characters, I mean they belong to the main character or other characters in the book. But yes, they are there. Giddles, also David, do you use any of the classic story guidelines, i.e., the 3-act structure, Joseph Campbell's Monmouth, etc.? So I'm going to do the thing that my mom hates me doing, and I'm going to open Plotter, and I'm going to show you what my plotter looks like. And you can see for yourself when I show you. And I promise there are no spoilers. I'm just gonna change some names here so that there are no spoilers. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. Alrighty. So you guys should be seeing my plot board. The only spoiler here is that you're going to see some of the working titles for chapter names. So chapter 1, I'm just going to tell you because at this point it's not a spoiler, I guess. Chapter 1 is called A Dignified Mux. I just haven't updated it yet. Chapters 2 and 3 are Crapo Smoke Your Pipe. Chapter 4 is Moksha. Chapter 5 is Digaldem. Julie, that's a tribute to you, Digaldem. Anyway, so you can see from Potter that I'm using multiple story guides. Now, this is a custom template that I created. My romance subplots, because I have a love triangle as my subplot, is using Gwen Hayes' Romance the Beat. So everything here in Romance the Beat is from Gwen Hayes' book on romancing the beat. The main plot uses, I want to say, I can't, oh, why can't I remember right now? I'm just going to go to the template and I'll tell you. So I believe, is it the hero's journey? No. I think it uses Save the Cat. Yes. Yep, that's it. So the main plot uses Save the Cat. So I've got an opening image, setup, theme, catalyst, the debate, break into Act 2, the B story, which is the subplot, the promise of the premise, midpoint, blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually using Save the Cat. And Save the Cat is divided into 3 acts. I just, I have edited mine. The word count plot is something that I added specifically so that I could make sure I hit all of the right beats within the time frame that Save the Cat suggests. So in my first 900 words, I should have my opening image, which means that that needs to be in my chapter 1. My theme needs to be stated and developed by 4,000 words, which is why it's here marked in chapter from chapter 2, and so on and so on, right? And keep in mind that the way I got these numbers is that I downloaded a Save the Cat beat sheet, and I input the total number of words I wanted my manuscript to be. So it's an Excel file that you can download. I input the total number of words I wanted my manuscript to be, and the numbers updated it. So I know exactly how many words I should have by the time, you know, by the time I get to that word count, this thing is supposed to have happened. Or at the very least, this thing has happened around this point. So yes. I think that should answer your question, right, Giddles? Nabil says, talking about following, I've stopped worrying about cultivating a following as an artist and work with just the people who are willing to pay for my art and the amount of work I could put out. In the age of the internet, we have to respect that everyone has a limited amount of time to make their own content and consume everyone else's. So instead of a large following, I'm cultivating a loyal, small one. I completely agree. I mean, I didn't start this channel to cultivate a following. I started this channel so that you, my friends, could hold my ass accountable for finishing this effing book and for doing all the other things that I need to do to make my journey work, right? And I'm okay with that. Like, I don't care if I never cross, I don't know, what am I at? 20 subscribers? Oh, okay. Apparently I have 28 subscribers. Thank you to Shari. I don't care if I never have more than this 28. I care about being able to write this book and finish it. You know, like Mom and Nikki always make jokes about monetization. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. Right? I care about writing this book and finishing this book. And I care about people reading this book and enjoying it and finding something in this book that they care about and that they connect to, or finding something in this book that they relate to in some way or something they like. That's what I care about, you know? And that's it. That's it. Caleb asks, do I have any characters who make a cameo in all of my books? Considering that right now all of my books are 0, technically I have 3 weeks in progress, but no, it's 0 because none of them are completed. The answer right now is no. I don't have characters who make a cameo in every single book, but I expect that I will by the time I'm done. And I think very likely those characters are going to be the cats. Caleb also says this is a lot more complicated than what I learned in creative writing in primary school. It doesn't need to be that complicated. And I can talk a little bit about how I ended up using Plotter, even though I'm a pantser. Hey, Stephen made it! Woo! And I'm not wearing the leather pants because I thought you wasn't going to be here. Look at that. Gil says, I've heard about Save the Cat and will definitely give it a read. Any other books you recommend and how to write? So, full disclosure, I have not read Save the Cat. I've read a lot about Save the Cat and I've read a lot about the Save the Cat methodology, but I haven't actually read the book because I started falling asleep whenever I read it because it's just not my kind of book. This is kind of how it went with most of the plotting books that I've tried to read. I did finish some of them. I finished The Snowflake Method, for example. That was actually quite entertaining to read, but I wasn't able to finish Save the Cat. Um, I plan to eventually, but I feel like I have a good enough grasp because I've read. And the thing is, all of these formulas are the same. They may call the inciting incident something different in every method. They may call your pinch points something different in every method, but they're all the same. They're all the same. You know, they may split it up differently. They may talk about additional beats, or they may call those beats by different names, but they're all the same. Um, what else? I guess I'm gonna quickly explain because it's already after it's been more than an hour, but I'm gonna quickly explain what how I've been using Plotter and how I've been pantsing with Plotter, which sounds dumb. So, like I said, I've been doing this as a pantser. I didn't plan. I ended up writing a synopsis because I knew what I wanted this book to do, the start and the end and the major things that happen in the middle. And I wanted to put that on paper so that I didn't forget and that I had something to guide me. You know, I had like a signpost to guide me in my writing. So I know where I'm going. What I just need to figure out is what happens in between. And I've been using that. And what happens is that every time I get stuck, I will go to Plotter and I will look at the Save the Cat and the Romance the Beats beat sheets, as well as my word count, which I update as I go. And I'll see what is the mark I should be hitting next. And ask myself, what are the marks I should have already hit? And did I hit them? So, in a worst case scenario, if I can't figure out what comes next, I'll go back and I'll fix it if I haven't done something yet. And that's not usually how you zero draft, but it's what works for me, so I'm going to do it. But when I do that and I fix it, which is how I ended up doing that retcon of like 10k words, I go back and I fix it, and then suddenly the thing that comes next is like, duh, and so I write that, and I keep writing until I get stuck again, and then I go back to the plot board and I say, okay, have I done all of these things yet? And if I haven't, I fix it, and then it's like a door opens up and I keep going. So I'm not really so I'm not plotting, but I'm plotting to keep track of my passing, if that makes sense. I will definitely recommend that you read the Snowflake Method if that is something you're interested in doing, like writing novels. I think you can use it to write anything, honestly. But it was the book that was the most useful to me, and it was the book that I think I don't use everything that the Snowflake Method says that you should do or like how to do it, but it has helped me to figure out my own process. Uh, Whatever that writing motivation book that I was reading, where they were like, start on a small screen. I don't know the name of it. I'll go find it and I'll send it to you. But I would recommend that book if you could figure out what it is. And that's it. That was a lot earlier. Holy crap, that was a lot. Anything else? Because if not, I'm just going to say my goodbyes and sign off because it's been an hour and 8. So I'm just going to wait a second for any last questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. I'm going to assume that's because Oli don't have none. And I'm just going to say thanks. Thank you. Thank you for asking me these questions. Thank you for being here every Sunday to hold me up. Okay, nope. Miguel and wife say hey. I'm just going to stop there and wait for the question. What I consider, so she asks, what I consider a longer series for Project OBO. Yes and no. So this book is the first one where I started writing the book before I had finished world building. So even right now in my head, there are parts of this world that are not completely clear to me, that become clearer as I write. And if you are someone who happens to have read my blog at all, I actually talk about this with regard to Helen and Cephalla. Because Helen and Cephalla were created strictly through um, prompt writing, and I didn't do any world building or have any ideas for what happened to them next. I just discovered in every prompt more about their world. A similar thing is happening right now with Project Obia. Now, the thing is that as much as that world building is lovely and amazing and incredible, and I want more of it, the story that I'm telling with Junie and her co-cast, I don't think that that expands across more than two books. I knew when I wrote that synopsis that that was the end of a story, but then they had another story to get to the end of their, like, the complete thing. So I know that that is going to be a duology. The book will be standalone because you don't need to have that second book in order for that first to make sense. It does come to a resolution, but there is just a little bit more that that I would like to see happen for a final resolution. And I think that that's going to be it for Junie and this story for Project Obi and Project Durga. But I think that there are other characters, and I already have some idea of that in my brain. I just haven't put anything on paper yet because it's still brewing. But I think that I will write more books set in this world, but with different characters. And likely, I think Junie et al. Will be making cameos in those books because they're set in the same world. And that story, as it's been developing in my brain since I thought of it, is interconnected. Um, Anjali says this was helpful for me. Thank you. Yes, I'm very glad it was helpful for you, Mom. Thank you. And Nicholas said she was delayed. Yeah, I think that that question was a bit delayed. But anyway, I do think that should have been the last question because it is almost quarter past the hour now that we've been here, and I've done a lot of talking. My throat hurts. I've been feeling sick this week, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Having you guys here to ask me these questions and hold me accountable and give me reasons to analyze my writing process and give me questions that force me to analyze that writing process has been incredibly helpful. I think this is the most introspective I have been about my writing process ever. And yeah, that's that's it. I think that yeah, I am a bit delayed. I think that StreamYard does say that you should expect a couple seconds, perhaps, but this is the only way to stream simultaneously on the two platforms, so it's just gonna have to work. And that's it. I really hope that this was useful for more people than just my mom. And if you're looking at this from the future, I really hope that this was useful for you too. Good night and goodbye. Talk to you later. Oh, where's the button? Okay.